Recording live from Loyola University Chicago's Water Tower campus, this is Loyola Sports Radio with Robert Zaglinski and Megan Dela Cruz. Welcome into the show, and let's run through some of the top stories from the sports weekend. In baseball, the Cubs have won 3 of their last 4 and took 2 of 3 from the Colorado Rockies over the weekend. But Chris Bryant took a pitch to the head in the series finale Sunday. X-rays were negative, and he has no signs of concussion as the Cubs went through all precautions with their star player.
Meanwhile, the White Sox were swept by the Houston Astros over the weekend and sit at 4-14 as the worst team in the American League. They haven't won a game since April 11th. Despite this, star second baseman Yoan Moncada has begun to heat up with 7 RBI, 6 hits, and 2 home runs in the last 6 games.
Here, as futures for teams begin to be set. The Bears will select number 8 overall. Notre Dame guard Quentin Nelson is the favorite for the pick for Chicago among pundits, among many options. The first round begins in Dallas Thursday night at 7 Central.
To the NBA, last night the Cleveland Cavaliers evened their series against the Indiana Pacers on the strength of a strong performance of 32 points from LeBron James. Controversy ensued over a late-game jump ball that wasn't awarded to Indiana. A pivotal Game 5 is set for Wednesday night.
Meanwhile, finally, in the NHL, the 2-time defending champion Pittsburgh Penguins advanced to the second round over the rival Philadelphia Flyers 8-5. The Penguins will play the winner of the Washington Capitals Columbus Blue Jackets series, of which has a Game 6 tonight, with Washington looking to close out Columbus. And that brings us to our main point, which is about Loyola Basketball attempting to capture lightning in a bottle once more, Megan, where they're going to try to make another Final Four run after a surprise 2017-2018 season. I've heard that you think they can do it again, despite all the odds that are probably going to be facing them again.
Well, I think they can maintain their success due to recent history of other NCAA tournament Cinderellas like Butler, BCU, and Wichita State. In recent years, having had sustained success and being just as good in years prior. The expectations shouldn't be to succeed for them, but to maintain. That's thanks to Coach Porter Moser and his coaching staff. Although they may lose some key players, they do have Ahir Uguak as a redshirt coming in this season, and bring back the skills of Lucas Williamson and Cameron Krutwig, who are exceptional alternatives.
To that point, while the Ramblers are in a weak conference in the Missouri Valley, to expect another Final Four run is misguided. They can have a good season without getting to the last weekend. They had a lot of fortune to make it so far this year, based off the favorable South region of the tournament that lost its top 3 seeds in Virginia, Cincinnati, and Tennessee all by the second round. To expect to play another number 9 seed in Kansas State to get to the Final Four is confounding, as that so rarely happens. The roster will stay the same, and they'll bring back a lot of talented players, but it'll be hard to get the same roll of the dice.
That's a fair point, but the Ramblers are now on the map. If they dominate for another season, there will be a much higher seed and be in position to again get a favorable region once more. It's about continuity, and that's what they have. The surprise factor or lack thereof helps. And if the Ramblers are able to maintain what they have now, they just have to get used to their new lineup. Like they played this season with the redshirt junior Marcus Towns contributing his efforts to the team. Don't count out mentioned crucial players like the soon-to-be sophomores Krutwig and Williamson. Or, most importantly, 2017 to 2018 Conference Player of the Year Clayton Custer, among others returning to the court. They have the horses to get similar success.
Coach Moser will have his hands full to keep that team level-headed, and he's proven to be very good at that. But that doesn't mean they should be any more favored because of their returning lineup. If they're a higher seed, they're only in a worse position because they'll play a better team early on in the tournament. The underdog mentality is what drove them through this year. And they won't have that with pedigree under their belt. They'll have experience to play better teams and to beat the better teams, but they still won't have the same level of talent. They have talent to grind through. They have talent to beat those upper echelon teams when it's surprising, when they don't see it coming, when the other teams see them coming, when the other teams understand what they do best. They have better talent, and they have just as good coaching to take them out. What's the best word for it? To take them out in a way that Loyola really wouldn't have any answers for, because they're not a traditional powerhouse. They don't have the same level of ability as a Kentucky, which they avoided in the Final Four this year, or a North Carolina, or a Kansas, or a Villanova. Loyola, in that way, has a huge target on their back now. What their advantages are less tangible and measurable. On paper, expectations for them should be lower from that respect, while they can still win the Missouri Valley, while they can still get to the second or third round of the NCAA tournament. For what they did this year, that's difficult to overcome for that non-traditional powerhouse that I mentioned, like Loyola normally is. A good season doesn't mean they have to get to the Final Four. If Coach Moser's staying around, they're going to have more opportunities in the future as recruiting builds up. Creating lightning in a bottle is difficult, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which I understand. From Loyola University Chicago's Water Tower campus, this has been Loyola Sports Radio with Robert Zaglinski and Megan Dela Cruz.